You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
Welcome, everybody, to the Nerds Pod. Thank you so much for all the love and comments on our first episode. This is our second episode, and the reason why we're having the second episode is because The Neighborhood Spider-Man came out on Disney Plus and finished about 24 hours ago. So without further ado, it's me, Pooba. Love the comments. Thank you so much for the love. Continue that. Give a like, give a subscribe. If you enjoyed the first episode, give a like and subscribe when you like after this episode, because we really do appreciate everything that you guys do and say and love for us. Without further ado, Neighborhood Spider-Man, Disney Plus, 8 episodes, done, first season. And while amazing and visually to look at, I want to give this and the first talk about this episode with Ko. And Ko, I know that this guy here, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is near and dear to your heart. So I'm going to give you the floor and kind of set us off with this conversation.
Welcome back, everybody. Wow. It's your boy, Ko, the kid at heart. Just got back from Oscorp Labs. Had to run and do this show real quick. Hopefully I can get back and continue working on our experiments. But in the meantime, I have the opportunity during my lunch break to break this down to you. So the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man just started. First off, I just want to let you know that Spider-Man is my favorite character. The reason for that is because me and Peter Parker relate so much. First and foremost, I'm from the Bronx. He's from Queens. He lost a loved one. So did I at a young age. And I was always built with the challenge of, should I use my powers for good or evil? And in that time, through my head, it's always, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's being a father, a husband, a friend, an influencer, a brother, and whatever it is, always want to take it, because that's the responsibility that we have amongst ourselves as just human beings. With that being said, I thought the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was absolutely amazing. So, because that is my favorite character, the first thing I was concerned about was, are they going to tell the same story? Now, here's the thing. When you watch something, sometimes you want to see how they'll switch it up. I love the fact that they switched up the story. Now, for those that don't know, Spider-Man has a large variety of characters all around him. It's not only the Sinister Six that you know of. There's plenty of other characters that play a part in Peter Parker's role. In this show, they ended up giving you even more of what that is. So for me personally, going into it, I always go with a blank slate. Let me see how they're going to tell the story of Spider-Man. With that being said, watching all episodes, holy smokes, it was really good. I've been a fan from Jump Street. So for those that don't know, Fox ended up making the Spider-Man show. I can't do the song of the intro because I don't want us to get flagged on that, but I'll give you a snippet. Okay, that's good enough. With that being said, that was one of the best shows to explain who Spider-Man was, and you was able to see all these other characters. With that, this show right here has shown that they can tell the same story, but in a different twist. I just want to emphasize that the show is called Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The neighborhood part of that title plays a humongous part in this show because it gives you an opportunity to actually see that the community is what makes Spider-Man so great. So I think it was wonderful.
And Uncle, that's amazing. I think you truly inhabit a lot of Peter Parker's aptitudes for yourself. But Pedro, you gotta tell me, Pete. Let me know how you feel about the show.
At first, I was skeptical when they announced it. I was just like, okay, how's it? Just the look of it, and Cole and I have had conversations about other animated films and series that came out. We didn't really dig the animation, or we loved it. So this one, it got off on the wrong foot with me. Just before I saw anything, just because the art was a little different than what I was used to, the animation style. But I did like it. One thing about Spider-Man is there's speedsters and there's guys who can fly, but nobody swings to nobody can swing like him. Nobody has that type of movement style. And but the series, I like when there's I do like when there's a different series coming out and you can see somebody's take. It's a different take on something. Like you saw the Scorpions were a gang, and and Matt Gargan was the leader of that gang, and Octavius was out there. He was handing out tech to these guys so they can go out there and act up. So I do like the different take on it. The the things I did overall, I did like it. I didn't really have an issue with it. But the things I did not like were Harry's design. The man bun, the earrings, not a fan of that. That's just me. I have no problem with the race swap, but his design was horrendous. I didn't like it. I did not like. I wasn't a fan of them making Dr. Connors, a woman. I just wasn't a fan of that because I feel like we're trying too hard to change just for the sake of changing. But overall, it was good, and the finale to me was they're already working on season 2, and season 3 is greenlit. So that's definitely a telltale sign of something that was a home run. Everybody enjoyed it. They got the ratings that they wanted. Again, minor things to me, what I didn't enjoy about it, but overall, is it rewatchable for me? Yes, I'll definitely rewatch the series.
No, and I'm glad that you guys both. I am on the opposite side of this particular conversation. I was not a fan of it at all. They put too much of the 616 into this to then twist it up. I think that if you're gonna do this and you're gonna change the story, make it a different story, right? Make Spider-Man from the Bronx.
Okay.
Hey, I'm just saying, if we're gonna change it up, change it up. What if Spider-Man, neighborhood Spider-Man? Because I know that the Queens, for the most part, is one of the most confusing places to drive. It is not so neighborly. Here we got 138, 139. It's easy. It's easy to follow the Bronx. Neighborhood Spider-Man should have been from the Bronx. But there's too much of the 616 in there that I have issues with it. The other thing is that the first episode, right from the jump, Doctor Strange is not Vision. He does not teleport through something in the astral plane. His body leaves, and that's the astral plane. He should have gotten crushed. I hate the way the Venom looked. Sorry, was not a fan of it at all. They did too much of the. I mean, the apartment looked exactly like the movies from the MCU. But then they were like, no, we're doing this totally. Again, I'm all for a difference of view, a different. I mean, they even brought in Johannesburg. They brought in the fight in Germany. They showed the airplanes. And when Spidey wasn't there, I'm like, you just took away from the MCU what we loved. That introduction, that first time Captain America meets Spider-Man. I'm from Queens. I'm from Brooklyn. I was not a fan of it at all. I agree with you, Pedro. Harry and Norman look like they should have been selling themselves on the corner It looked really bad. I get that the Harry and Norman portion, they had in the original artwork, they had that curly hair, so they did it that way. You didn't have to put the same curly hair on a black Norman and Harry. I'm sorry. And I just wasn't a fan until the last two episodes. The last two episodes say, okay, let me bring you back full circle to how this started and how we're in a loop. That was dope. That was dope to me. Cole, you had said something about in the first episode about not when we listen to the intro of something, we never skip the intro. I love the intro on this. It may become a ringtone somewhere down the point. The world's smallest violin. If you didn't like it, I guess I'm getting that right now because I wasn't a fan of it. But We'll get into the details of it. But I'll go and say that this was nothing more than the canister webbing for me. Like its first opening webbing, it's not that great. It wasn't good. They brought in the anti-venom suit, the white suit, if you know it. It's an anti-venom suit, and Venom wasn't even going against him yet. So I think they threw away too much. They put in all the I forget the name of it right now, but all the Identity Crisis Spider-Man. They just threw the costumes out there and gave it no love. Like, oh, this was whack and this was whack. No, those costumes actually were dope in the comic book. So there was too much of that where they try to throw in so much and then it's kind of it wasn't really that good. Peter never liked it. He actually did like those suits in the Identity Crisis one. I'm hoping they kind of come back full circle with it, but I wasn't a fan of it. It got, like I said, if I'm giving it a scale, I'm giving it a whack web. It's it's not even a brick web. It's like a Mongol web that just kind of went out. Sorry, wasn't a fan of it at all.
Yo, that's very interesting that you guys have these takes on it. I totally get it. Sometimes...
Oh, and I don't care for Miko. I don't care for Miko. If she had died in the first episode or in the fifth one, I would have been celebrating. Right. Didn't care for Miko. She was worthless. And then on top of that, hey, Peter Parker Spider-Man. Hey, Peter Spiker Spider-Man. Everyone knew. Todo mundo sabe. Now it's a bochinche. It's not even a real thing. Everybody knew that he's Peter now.
So what's crazy is, right, I'm not going to fight or stand up for my character because it's my character in the show. But like I said earlier, I like to watch it on a clean slate. It doesn't matter. I can watch The Flash, Batman, Superman that's coming up soon, later this year. It's going to be a clean slate for me. Everything is always going to be a clean slate. I think that's what gives me the opportunity to actually watch something and really dissect it to its fullest. So by all means, everyone's going to have their opinions, and I respect both of you guys' opinions, but let me break a couple of things down for you guys. First and foremost, bringing the MCU into this. Now, the first time that they brought in Spider-Man and it was a Civil War and you see Tony Stark's get him, I think this time around, they got the opportunity to revolve the story with Spider-Man having the MCU in the background instead of the other way around, where during Civil War, we're more concerned about what the Avengers is going on with Spider-Man in the back. That's fine. For me, I think what makes this show so great is one, for Pete, from what Pete said, me and Pete, we always looking at animation, right? We watch anime movies, not anime, pardon me, animation movies of comic books, right? And, sometimes we want to make sure that it kind of works together. With this, it gives me a nostalgia of when I was reading comic books back in the 70s and 80s with the advance of today's world. So for me, it was a living comic book while watching this show. So at first, I was not a fan of the animation until I started to realize when Nico was in the party, certain characters wouldn't move while others would. And my son pointed that out. And I was like, you know what? That's actually pretty cool. And as it kept going on, I noticed also that the camera movement of Spider-Man himself and the villains were more up to date, while those in the background were more of a not moving around, giving you like that still feel. So it gave me the opportunity to see a comic book come to life. So for me, this show right here, bringing the MCU into it, I enjoyed, and also the fact that the animation was it was different because look at Doc Ock. Doc Ock was a 70s Doc Ock, not the one that you saw in Spider-Man 2, or an upgraded Dr. Octavius. This guy had this son right here, which was pretty cool. I thought that was it took me all the way back. And it gives the people an opportunity to actually see, hey, this is the way Stan Lee, may he rest in peace, envision all these characters.
That's a great take. Pete, what do you think about that?
Just to be clear, I had no problem with the story. Now going back to your point about Nico was
She needs to stay on the Runaways. Don't even come here. Don't even come to Queens.
I know that, and you could look at the movies as well. They've made Spider-Man's friends, Peter Parker's friends, more diverse. Like they're not all white like they're in the comic books. They're all different ethnicities. So I'm not really surprised at that. Again, my issues were more with design than anything. Again, the comic book feel of the animation was something that I don't know if you guys remember this game. It was a game for PlayStation 2. I'm gonna take it back. It was a game for PlayStation 2 called Ultimate Spider-Man, where it had a comic book feel to it. The graphics were like very comic book like, and this reminded me of that. So and with Dr. Connors, and it's not a question of it's change for the sake of change, and I think sometimes when you do that, you kind of water it down a little bit because Into the Spider-Verse, it was Olivia Octavius chasing, she was one of the main villains in that movie, and I had no issue with it. But this one just didn't seem right. It didn't seem right to me. But there, noticed a couple of Easter eggs in there. But it overall, again, I really don't have an issue with it. I don't give it, I'm not, it's going to be as harsh. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
I
it.
enjoyed the transition
Looking forward to
to
season.
what you both are saying. To what you both are saying, I enjoyed the transitions. So when they were on the phone, like when Peter was on the phone with Miko, they showed both of them and inside of the comic book strip kind of thing like that. So I get what you guys are saying. I just think they could have done a way better job with the storyline if you were going to switch it up. I mean, how awkward. I felt nasty. I wanted to throw up in my mouth when I think it was Harry who said, "Go get him, Tiger."
Now, I want to rebuttal that. I found it more comedic. I was like, that is funny
man.
to me. I thought that was hilarious.
Was not my thing.
I kind of loved it because what else is he going to say? Go get him, Spider-Man? No, he said, go get him, Tiger.
So out of a spider, he said, "Let me drop some bars." I mean, like Tiger. I mean, no, that's Mary Jane's line in every universe. Ben dies, and Mary Jane calls him Tiger.
Now, like I'm saying, right? You have an updated version. The reason his secret identity was given up is because there's cameras in the stairway, in the stairwell. So Peter went and changed, and then you see the camera. The camera's there. Of course, you're gonna get caught. I love that too. I think that was a small good part about it.
I didn't mind that. I'm sorry, I didn't mind that part because, like you said, there's cameras everywhere, and he's inside Oscorp. He made a mistake changing there. I get that. I agree 100%. Harry finding out, I was like, when he told Nico. I was like, come on, dude.
Well, you know, you open your mouth. You sometimes you don't even know how to keep a
I was
secret.
actually rooting for Harry and Miko, like this thing.
Yeah.
But then Harry looks like like he's not digging girls. So
Oh my god.
I'm calling a
Well,
spade a spade.
well,
I mean, how many
all
kids
right,
in
you
high
can't.
school do you know wear man bun earrings and go get them, Tiger?
You
I'm
can't. You,
sorry.
you can't really judge a book by its cover, because if that's the case, why is he so nervous talking with Nico at the time when they had the party and they watching the videos,
But
and then Peter had to leave.
Miko's obviously gay. Obviously, I mean, she comes off that way.
I didn't
She
get that
definitely.
vibe.
Well, I got that
I
vibe.
got that vibe.
Yeah,
And
because
I think in
remember,
the comic book she's LGBTQ.
well, regardless, in the show, she actually told Peter, "Hey, if you don't take your shot, I will with Pearl."
That's right. That's right. She
And I
did
was
say that,
like,
yeah.
"Ooh, she's with it."
Yeah, exactly. So
It brings us to, like I said prior, it's giving me that nostalgia of what I grew up with what today is all about. And I got no problem with the way they incorporated the woke way of how we do things today. So
again, no shame on none of that stuff. 'Cause I love the rainbow, all that stuff.
of course,
I just didn't think that it was necessary to drill this down our throats in
yeah.
Peter Parker's life. I do have a question for Pete. What do you think of the cameos? There's a lot of cameos in there, from Scorpion to Doc Ock to Iron Man, even to the last one that you kind of got up on Finesse. But what do you think of all the cameos?
You're missing the best one, but go ahead.
No, I'm leaving that.
Yeah.
I'm leaving that one for you, brother. I'm leaving that one for you.
No, this is always something that I think since they started making movies, it's something I kind of look forward to. When they started bringing them to the big screen, I always looked forward to like crossovers, getting, this guy and this guy's movie. So I'm all for cameos. Like, it's not that I'm never gonna hate that. That's not an issue with me. It's if it's done right, it's even better. You know what I mean? But if it's forced, then yeah, oh, this guy didn't belong here. But no, it all fit into the story. Spider-Man has one of the most the biggest
Vast.
rogue
Yeah.
galleries that are out there. So I'm not surprised. And look, we really didn't see that much. There's a lot more that they didn't show. But no, cameos are never an issue with me if it's done right. Look, I'll even go a little bit off track here. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I kind of expected more out of that, but what I wanted from that movie, we got it from Deadpool and Wolverine. So that was Cameo City. So everything for me, like I said, cameos I'm never gonna have an issue with cameos.
Go ahead. Give me your favorite cameo.
Oh my gosh.
When I didn't
Hey,
mention, I want you
guys.
to drop to me what you love, what you liked, what you didn't maybe need. But I needed all the cameos. So go ahead.
I'm ready to break it down for you. So while watching this in live and living color, I spent $159.99 on Disney Plus. And the cameo show of him and Daredevil fight scene on the roof was worth $159.99. Holy smokes. It reminded me of when Spider-Man was fighting Captain America in Civil War, where, hey, kid, you don't really know what's going on here. See, with Peter Parker, he's naive, and I get that. He's a young kid, so he should be a young kid. But that scene with Daredevil just blew my mind. If you really watch the fight scenes and the way they talk to each other, if you know Daredevil is a lawyer from Hell's Kitchen, his name is Matt Murdock, and he is blind. And you get to see Peter asking these questions like, wow, how'd you know I threw that? And you just moved. He was like, I just could do that, and so on and so forth. You got to see it for yourself. I don't even want to paraphrase what's going on, but if you notice at the very end, when Daredevil, I thought that was so dope. He throws the stick, and Peter has spider sense, so he's going to weave. But Daredevil wasn't going for his head. He was going to knock him out because he knew he was going to come and attack. And the fact that Peter lost that fight made me feel amazing. In conclusion, starting off the show with Doctor Strange coming in, as far as cameos is concerned, I think enhances the show and wants you to grasp what's going on here. So with that being said, love cameos. Just I'm gonna play off of what P said. It gotta make sense. It can't be forced. I don't feel in this show it was forced at all.
The Daredevil and the Spider-Man was my favorite scene of the whole series. I didn't get the whole Daredevil. I guess Daredevil is an espionage and he's behind the whole thing to have Finesse kind of be in there.
That's the reasoning. I'm sorry, Puba, but that's the reasoning for him. He wasn't forced in. Since Finesse is already part of the lab, this is why Daredevil had to play a part. And I have to give a shout out to
why did he break in? Why did he break in if she's already in?
That's a question you're gonna have to ask the writers. Yeah.
Yeah. So understand,
that
like I said,
can't answer that.
Right. If you can't answer it and it wasn't clear, because I was waiting for that's why Daredevil was breaking in. And I was even more confused at the end when it was like, okay, if she's already there and she already has the inside scoop.
There's a part where Peter's in the office.
She was mean to Peter, right? She was mean to Peter throughout the show.
She is who she is. She's just very brilliant. So anyone that is brilliant believes to themselves that they're extremely brilliant, except for the character that was from Wakanda, which is brilliant and compassionate. So that's how come she comes across like that. But even look at Cho, that he's like, hey, I'm the man here. So as far as that is concerned, her being the way she is, brilliant minds.
Cho in the Marvel universe is probably one of the smartest people in the whole universe, right?
Right. But I want to get back to what I was saying, because Peter's in the office with Osborn, and then he noticed her in the hallway, right? And he's like, yo, you're not supposed to be here. She's like, oh, okay, la, 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 la. But I know they don't do things on accident in today's age. Back then, when we used to watch cartoons, you could see things messing up and things didn't make sense. But she ran upstairs instead of downstairs. So who's not to say that Daredevil needed to break in because she couldn't get to a certain part? Again, not trying to make a place for it. I can't answer that. It's just a theory.
It could be a tease. It could be a tease for next season. It was towards the end of the series. I mean, and then the end of the season. So it could be it could be something that's gonna be one of the major storylines in the next season. So they kind of teased it at the end of this season. That's the only thing I could kind of.
It did feel like an end credit scene.
Yeah, like a tease.
End credit scene. Question. I'm gonna go to Code first on this one.
Talk to me.
How did you feel when they changed with great power comes great respect? Tell me how that flipped in your head and what you thought about that.
All right. So when I did watch it, I was wondering what he was going to say. So in my head, since it's already embedded, comes great responsibilities. For those that don't know, the saying is, with great power comes great responsibility. When Norman Osborn changed it, it made more sense to me, because I think the way they got Norman Osborn in this show hit spot on. For those that know or don't know, you really don't know what side he was really playing. Was he really trying to help? Was he trying to be a hero? Or was he trying to be a villain? But the minute he said respect, I think it fit him lovely. I love the fact that it came from him, because if he would have said responsibility, then I wouldn't agree with that. See, that saying came from his uncle, and that uncle is unconditional love,
And his
where
aunt. His aunt said it in
and
MCU.
his aunt as well. That comes from family. Norman Osborn is not family. He has a different agenda. So for him to say great respect, it's more of how he feels. And I loved it. I love that they switched it up.
How about you, Pete?
That you know, that says who he is. Respect is the type of person he's out there looking for respect, and you know you can see how he treated Octavius. Octavius hates him. Um, you saw what he did. He snitched on him, threw him in jail, stole his stuff. Like he's just he's grimy, and then took
And threw
Peter's
it in his
blood,
face.
took Peter's blood because that he has another agenda with that. So I'm also glad he didn't say responsibility because it would have been like, that's not for you to say. But like Cole said, respect at the end of that sentence fit him perfectly, the same way responsibility fits Ben perfectly. So it was good, man. I tell you, my issues are probably like minuscule little shit that is not a big deal compared to the overall, which was the story. The animation grew on me, and who I liked the most was freaking Scorpion. Calling him Araña and shit. I love that, man. I love that.
The
I
fact that he
love
was
that, man.
Spanish and he represented Latinos,
He
that
looked
was
dope. Yeah.
amazing.
Loved it.
What did you guys think about the Hannibal Lecter
Loved
mask?
it. Loved it. I love the new and going back on something I said earlier, I like different takes on characters and their storyline, and they'll tweak things here and there. And remember, he got in the Fox in the Fox series, he became Scorpion because of Jameson. Jameson was looking for somebody to hunt down Spider-Man, and this one it was through Octavius. Loved the whole look, the tail, the mask, the Hannibal Lecter ass, the Hannibal Lecter type mask. I loved his whole design. Loved it.
Can I just chime in real quickly? If you really pay attention, when the tail is close, it's all together. But when he extends it and tries to swing, it separates. I thought that was so cool.
No, hands down, the Scorpion was probably my favorite. It got real serious once he stabbed Peter. And how cool was it? Kind of like in the Amazing Spider-Man when he did the flip and the board saved him. That the board came down to pick him up. Like that was the wow moment for me. And that's when it goes, okay, I didn't like all the rest of this stuff. This is pretty cool. That the board came down to actually save him.
To show the vulnerability of Spider-Man, to get stabbed, that's a great point, Puba. Holy smokes. Because when he got stabbed, I said, oh my gosh, he's going to die.
I was like, come in, Miles Morales. Thank you. All right.
And there was smoke when the glider came in. I thought I was gonna see Norman. It wasn't Norman. It was just the glider. Also cool. I'm telling you, 10 out of 10.
And very cool
Love
that
the
they
show.
showed the projects that he's working on.
Yes.
Very cool that they showed that. I saw, was it Doc Ock when he was leaving? He grabbed like a bomb that was like for the Green Goblin. I'm not sure if you peeped that. As he was grabbing his tech, he grabbed the ball, and the ball looked, it was a silver, it wasn't orange, but it looked like the Green Goblin's ball. One last question for me is, how did you feel? Because I felt like Tombstone and Spider-Man had almost parallel throughout the show, right? Where both of them had to kind of join something. He joined Oscorp in a sense, and he joined the street gang, and how Tombstone came about almost identical to the comic books, right? In the sense where there was a gas that turned him. He didn't turn white. He didn't turn that silverish white color that he turns into. But how did you like Tombstone throughout this show? Because that's when we grew up. When we grew up, there was a lot of gangs, and we could have joined any of them, right? In the sense of that nature. And we either kept ourselves busy with school, video games, comic books. Those are the things that kind of kept us out of that loop. But in a sense where I kind of felt for him, I felt his story more than anybody else, especially when he got off at 125th Street out of the train station. How did you feel like that Tombstone storyline went with you guys? I'll go to Pete first.
If you notice at the end when he's driving the car, he's got white spots on his hands. So it's coming. It's gonna happen. It was cool to see, like, he was a big part of the whole series. Like, they kind of focused on him. I mean, obviously Peter Parker's the main focus, but he was a big focus on in the story, as far as him being like the star of the football team, and then him kind of falling from grace because he had to protect his brother. He took his brother's place in the gang, so his brother wouldn't really get caught up in it. We all know it's going to turn, because he's a bad guy. He's a villain. That's what it is. And he took over the gang from Big Dom, right? That was his name, Big Dom. He took over the gang
Big Dom, yeah.
because he chickened out and broke out during the fight. So and he
which I wasn't surprised. I was not surprised he booked it.
And he so his story arc was cool, and I know we're gonna get more in the second season. He's not going away. Maybe we don't see Scorpion because Scorpion was defeated, but Tombstone will be back.
Seeing the way that it was Lincoln, and knowing these characters and so on and so forth, I already had it in my head he's gonna be Tombstone. What was fun was, how is he going to become Tombstone? So if you notice, when they paired up in the class, Peter started breaking down some science, expecting the quarterback of the team to not know what's going on. Yet the man was intelligent enough to know and told Peter, hey, I read these books too. I might be the star quarterback. I might be handsome and everything, but don't sleep on me. I actually got a brain as well. So now I'm looking at it like, okay, this guy he looks great. What's going on? The turn for when he stood for his family, and that scene when he's talking to his little brother, and his little brother says, hey, it's supposed to be me in that gang. You have too much to lose. And Lincoln looking at his little brother saying, nah, I want to make sure that we're all good. So don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Started showing a turn. And as I continue watching episode after episode after episode, I'm wondering, how is this guy going to turn into Tombstone? So I'll give you guys an Easter egg. He usually, Tombstone as a villain, after he does whatever he does as far as destroying people's lives, he likes to throw a rose. If you watch the show, you would see that he drew Pearl a rose, and it starts to show where that's coming from. Pedro pointed out that he's starting to turn as well. So him getting the gang, getting the name, when Dom gave him the name and said, hey, you know what, you're Tombstone. And Lincoln was like, you know what, I like that. And kept going on. And then now he's vulnerable and now he's changing. I love the way they just took that character as just not a villain that, hey, he's just a villain. You're actually growing with this character and seeing how in not only in fantasy, but in real life, how us can turn our lives around depending on which way the world takes us. So I truly liked it.
No, I like that storyline. I like the whole storyline of Tombstone. I kind of felt like they were parallel for a lot of different things between Peter and him. Which again, like I said, I enjoyed that. I didn't like his cornrows. His cornrows were like a bunch of centipedes on his head. I was like, I wanted to smack it and crush it.
Let me tell you, whoever did that,
I don't like centipedes. I don't like centipedes.
Whoever did his cornrows is nice, because they were nicely tight, man.
They looked like they were about to crawl off his head, and he was going to be centipede instead of Tombstone. Again, overall, I'll be honest with you. At the end of the last two shows, for me, there was a part that I felt like a kid, and it felt like a Saturday cartoon for me, which allowed me to enjoy those last two episodes. Everything that I said before today, and I still stand on it, and I'm okay with getting the grief from it, but Miko needs to die. That's what Miko needs to
Okay.
die.
Okay.
I'll
she
end my
would.
take with that. Like get
And maybe
away
she
with
would.
it. She's a runaway, right? See, that's what that I know her. She's
Foster
a
home.
runaway.
Lives in a
Yeah,
foster
exactly.
home.
Yeah, she's part of the runaways.
That's right.
And the same way this girl's supposed to be Atlantean. The chick that Tombstone was supposed to get.
Her
Peter's
name
gonna
is
get those buns. Peter's gonna get those buns.
her name is Wave, and if you notice, she's a swimmer. You can tell when her and Lincoln were talking and stuff like that. Listen, I thought it was cool was every time like the race scene when she took Harry's car and the amulet was constantly like guiding her to make sure. What about the part when Peter came with the uniform finally and stopped the car for crushing her, but you see Spider-Man in the silhouette? I mean, it is what it is. Don't honestly look, no Mary Jane, I'm good with it. No Gwen, I'm good with it. As a person that's been watching Spider-Man for so long, I love when you give me new characters, new changes. It intrigues, it gets me into the story because I want to know about these guys. And hey, by all means, we're gonna like them. We're not gonna like them, but I hear you because I do have one last question, but
Yeah,
I want you to finish your point, familia.
I'll leave it up to Pete. Yeah.
So I'm gonna start off with Pete. What did you think about the costumes? Because he had plenty of them.
We spoke about this too. I was like, I can't. I liked at the end of, I believe it was the 6th episode when they showed him when Harry gave him the classic costume.
Go get him, Tiger.
Yeah, it's a
Yuck.
it was
Yuck.
weird. It was weird that they started
My
off
stomach
with
turned when you said it.
It was weird when they started off with the white suit. But I knew eventually they were going to get to the classic one. But yeah, all those, look, it goes back to Into the Spider-Verse when he wanted a cape, when Miles wanted a cape, and he was like, "Yeah, we don't do capes." And then when they went to see Aunt May, he had a lot of his costumes there, and one of them had a cape. So I get that part of it. I'm glad it was very quick because again, I'm a fan of course, the symbiote costume and of course the classic.
Hoover, what you thought?
Well,
He didn't
I think that's a whole
that.
season. I think that's a whole season of going through costumes. They just kind of threw us out there. Like I said, I know that storyline, and it's a great story. When it comes to Identity Crisis, I think is the name of the series in the comic books. If you're going to read it, it's called Identity Crisis, which he goes through an identity crisis, right? Which is the first name of the first episode, I believe.
Not the first one. The first one was called Amazing Fantasy, where Spider-Man first appeared. But it was the second episode.
Yeah. So there was an episode called Identity Crisis, but it's a huge comic book. It's a great read if you ever read it. I love the comic. I love everything. I love everything. The fact when they said that they called him Thor. But I wanted more of those things in a different volume. I think if Peter Parker was doing well, I was curious to why try to change up the uniform. And I heard that this is like ratings wise of what people are saying. I didn't think they give because the one with the cape is actually a real costume and it actually works really well for that Spider-Man. But
Unlimited Spider-Man.
Correct. So to make it look like it didn't work, sucked. Because those costumes did work in the comic book. But I was okay with the costumes. I just didn't want it in this format, in this way, in this they threw it away. They kind of threw away some really good things that they could have done and moved this into a multiverse type of thing. But maybe they're trying to stay away from it. And again, from what we've seen in Captain America, from what we're seeing in this neighborhood Spider-Man, maybe they're just trying to keep everything grounded. But that's my take on it. Like, I think they threw away a good opportunity to bring in Identity Crisis. That's my opinion.
Awesome. For me, very quickly, I like to say that I like the first costume only because it's sweatpants, a hockey jersey. He just put something together. I like the tank in the back because for him to just start off and have the risk of the webbing already mastered. One of my favorite parts as well is when he's fighting Butane. Butane is a character where he was setting the building on fire, and there's a part that you see Spidey jump over the glass, but it finally gets caught, like that the holes between whatever he's using. That's very attention to detail. I love that. Then yeah, let Osborn create a suit that he feels is going to be great for Spider-Man, which was pretty close, the white one that you mentioned earlier in the show. Wonderful. As he builds up, again, what I believe makes this show so good is the nostalgia, vintage, and upgraded versions. So his suit is very nostalgic, yet my favorite part are the soles, where they paint a little bit of the blue under his foot. And overall, I'm really happy that he rocks the red and blue for sure. That is a classic. The only other uniform I don't mind watching Spider-Man in is the black costume, which I'm excited to see because for those that saw the show, if you notice, a piece of that symbiote did come into that universe. And I believe this show is just going to continue growing. And I wish it nothing but the best. I truly, truly, truly enjoyed it. 10 out of 10 for me, only because it gave me a different story, gave me the same story, different twist, and the way they did the character build-ups on everyone, whether it's Nico fams or not. I'm excited to see where does this go next.
P, any questions you got? You're muted. You're a professional. Have your mic on.
We covered everything, man.
The one thing that we didn't cover, and I guess quickly if we can, because I don't want to make this show any longer than it is, but Peter Parker's dad is alive. Peter Parker's dad is alive, and we'll get a small bit of it. If you want to get into that, there's not much of a conversation because just kind of show them real quickly, but please let us know what you think the arc is going to be for Peter Parker's dad being alive. If you like the show and you like our podcast, looking forward to your comments, looking forward to your questions. And of course, we always take feedback. So let us know. Let us know what you think. Beyond that, I think we are done here. It's great. It's a great show and a good watch for the most part. So definitely get into Spider-Man, the neighborhood Spider-Man.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Friendly.
All right. If you want to, he's friendly to Miko, who should die. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today. And nerds out. Later.
We will return.
Web swing.
The worst episode ever.